So here it is, Merry Christmas, everybody's having fun. Look to the future now, it's only just begun.
Welcome back, YouTubers, to a very special series of videos. Over the next 2 days, me and NJ are going to be looking at some of the good and some of the bad in wrestling over 2012.
Because when it comes to the WWE and TNA, yes, we may bash them or complain, but they have given us the good as well as the bad.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing the best and worst of WWE in this video, and then in tomorrow's video we're going to be doing the best and worst of TNA. So this should be very interesting. We are the British Fist, in case you didn't already know that and know the sign, which is that, by the way. I am Mr. Parkin, in case you didn't know, and just in case you're a new subscriber and you didn't know, this guy standing next to me is the great and honourable NJ.
What's up?
Subscribe down below, like the video down below, and comment your thoughts on the best and worst of WWE down in that comment section below.
And make sure you contact us in the links in the description box below.
Yes, and we have many different categories for this video. We really want to hear your input on these. The opening category that we're going to be talking about is the best and worst feud. You know, it's interesting, NJ, when we were trying to look at the best feuds and worst feuds in WWE, it really did come to us that there hasn't really been that many long, sort of drawn-out feuds in WWE that have been all that interesting and really have had that great of a payoff for the people involved.
The thing is, the WWE have managed to give us good matches throughout the year. We could probably name a list of good matches that we've been given. But when it comes to feuds that stand out, they've had a reason to happen, a reason to finish, a good payoff. There weren't really any that stood out in our minds.
No, but I think the one that stood out most in our minds was a match which a lot of people wanted to see at WrestleMania. I think a lot of people on the internet will agree that this was probably the best feud of 2012, simply because of the way they brought Chris Jericho in, the way that him and Punk interacted. And they actually had 2 matches, technically 3 if you look at Elimination Chamber, so that definitely counts as a feud. And the interaction between these two and the way they evolved the storyline with Jericho going after Punk's, alcoholic father and family, etc., that I think was the best pure blood feud in WWE this year.
The way it went down, yes, you thought the best in the world thing was the best way to go.
Yes.
The video packages, it was a good payoff. It went down really well with great matches, happened numerous times. Yes, I'm pretty sure you could say the negatives of this feud or these matches, but out of all the feuds that Punk's been in or matches he's had, this one stood out as the most beneficial for the pay-per-views.
Indeed, and like we said, there aren't really that many long feuds. I mean, you could say Big Show, Sheamus, but in my opinion, and also NJ's opinion, we both agree on this, the best pure feud, best pure blood feud in WWE this year was Chris Jericho and CM Punk. Now, moving on to the worst feud of the year. God, there are many categories for this when you look at WWE. I think me and NJ can both agree that the worst feud of the year was Cena versus Johnny Ace.
As much as you do expect the arrest going against the boss to be good matches, like you had Austin going against Vince and all that, you do expect them to be good matches, but this one in particular, the fact it was meant to be probably Punk and Ace more than Cena had to step in, that was one of the big ruined things. Then when it came to their match, it was even worse.
Indeed, the match itself was terrible. Never really felt the feud between these two. I mean, I understand you're having the top babyface against the top guy who could draw heat, which is generally the heel GM. But the whole dynamic surrounding this feud, in my opinion, was just something I could not get into, and it really wasn't that interesting. And it spouted, of course, the John Cena Big Show feud as well, which was equally as bad in my opinion.
The thing is, I never really got behind Johnny Ace, and you fact you're pairing it with someone I don't like, with someone I don't like, it really doesn't work out for me. And the fact they managed to drag it on, to put Cena main event over the WWE Champion, it made this whole thing a lot worse.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, but at least Johnny Ace was Mr. Entertainment. So next is the best and worst storylines. This is the award for like the best storyline that's really happened over time and what they built up to. And I think in terms of WWE, you said there haven't really been that many great feuds this year. And I think the writing really hasn't been there enough to really give us great storylines. But I think one storyline which captivated us all was the Triple H versus Undertaker storyline with Shawn Michaels as a special guest referee. End of an era going into WrestleMania. You know, you had Triple H, a legend, a future Hall of Famer, Undertaker with his streak, Always a great storyline to have. The streak made it even better. In a Hell in a Cell, with Shawn Michaels as the referee, the whole story surrounding those three, in my opinion, makes this story the most encapsulating story of WWE's year. What a surprise that it involved Triple H, Undertaker streak, and Shawn Michaels.
The thing is, when it was coming up, yes, there were complaints, Triple H going against Taker for the third time, but the way it built up, the fact it kept getting more and more things added to it, yes, some people like me said Shawn Michaels might have been needed, but the fact it added more to the storyline, more to the match, and the match itself paid off brilliantly, I really believe that other matches throughout this year are really going to struggle to compete against that. It was just unbelievably good, a heartwarming finish with all three of them, and just a perfect way to finish off WrestleMania.
It was a perfect way to finish off the end of an era storyline, even though it's kind of still continued because Triple H and Undertaker are still going to be wrestling and Shawn Michaels may still be making appearances. But in terms of the way the storyline was done and what it encapsulated, the emotion and the drama, I think it was a storyline which, in my opinion, encapsulated us as fans most in 2012.
Yeah, that's very true, because I think when it comes to WrestleMania, you do expect big things to happen, and for this one, involving Taker, who rightfully should be getting all these big matches, Triple H, who obviously steals them all, and Shawn Michaels to be involved in this, unbelievably good.
So we go from the best storyline in WWE to the worst storyline in WWE, and this is kind of a combination of a couple of storylines, in our opinion. It's been very well known that WWE have wanted to push AJ Lee down our throats and have wanted to make her a massive character with WWE, and that is all fine and good if you want to do that, but the fact of the matter is, whenever AJ Lee got involved into a storyline, whether it was John Cena versus Dolph Ziggler, whether it was, Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk, whenever it was, Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus, Big Show versus Daniel Bryan, it really did seem to suck the life out of everyone. To say the worst storyline of the year, anything with AJ involved.
That's the thing, as soon as it come up with this topic, the first thing that stood out in my mind, just because it's been going on for ages, and the WWE really tried to make NJ a popular part of the show, and it's done the complete opposite. AJ has really affected big possible matches, especially when it comes to Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan, which we all expected to be a big payoff match.
18 seconds.
In 18 seconds.
In about the amount of time it takes a teenage boy to ejaculate. So the worst storyline of the year, not necessarily a storyline, but any storyline involving AJ Lee, you could easily very much cast, in my opinion, for the worst of the year.
Especially the whole GM role, because that took things a step further. She was meant to be Diva in one of the magazines or something. She was meant to be Diva of the Year, and I think she's the complete opposite.
Yeah, and I love AJ Lee, but even I'm prepared to admit that she was in some terrible storylines and she made them terrible. And now it's time to discuss our best and worst match in WWE. And I think it's fair to say this year in WWE, there have been a fair amount of good matches. I mean, you've had, Cena versus Rock, Brock Lesnar versus Rock, Chris Jericho versus CM Punk, Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk. You've had a lot of, in my opinion, very good, at least 4+ star matches in WWE. But I think the best match, and we said it was the best storyline, the best match in terms of doing what it should do, which is encapsulate the audience, get us encapsulated in there, get our emotions going. The best match of the year for WWE is definitely Triple H versus Taker, and I think you'll definitely agree with me on that one.
With this match, it was hard for me to pick this because I had another one in mind, which I'll say in a minute. But with this match, the build, the feeling of this match, the way it went down, the fact you thought it could finish Taker off, and the way the match was performed with Shawn Michaels, Taker, and Triple H, this match really stood out as a really brilliant match. That does not take anything away from other matches like Rock and Cena, which again stood out as the main event and everything, but Triple H, Taker, and Shawn really stole it from me.
In terms of what a match is all about, the emotion, getting the crowd involved, etc., this was definitely the best match. Like I said, there are many to choose from. I mean, Cena versus Punk at Night of Champions was a very good match in my opinion. The Shield match at TLC was a very good match in my opinion. The storylines haven't been that great this year, but some of the matches have actually been really good. But I think the cut of the crop, the cream of the crop, I should say, Taker versus Triple H, no surprise. Going into the worst match now, many candidates for this as well, but we said that John Cena versus Johnny Ace was our worst storyline of the year. And to be honest with you, whenever you put John Cena in the ring against a guy like Johnny Ace, the match is never going to be good, and the fact that it main evented over the limit kind of makes this an even bigger candidate for worst match of the year. doesn't it, really?
And the fact they added the big showing, which was the predictability of it, and that went on to so it worse. This match, again, when it comes to John Cena face anyone who's not a wrestler, like a commentator, yes, it just doesn't work, and this match did not work. The fact you got the main event, it just really, really did not make any sense to me. Really ridiculous. Yes, I can name other matches, but those other matches don't quite touch this match.
Yeah, I mean, there were some really bad matches in WWE this year. I mean, you look at like Santino versus Ricardo Rodriguez, all sorts of bad matches that I, can't think of off the top of my head, but I definitely know happened. Yeah, you got those matches as well. So that's our best and worst match discussed down below. Next, we're going to talk about the best and worst wrestler in WWE. I think it should come as no surprise, really, that the WWE champion right now, CM Punk, is the best wrestler in WWE. I mean, he's a very good talker. He's very good in the ring. He seems to have most of the tools there to be a main event star for WWE. And even though he's had somewhat of a mid-card title run, I still think the best wrestler of this year would definitely go to CM Punk, of whom his DVD we own. And it's actually a really, really good insight into CM Punk's growth to the WWE main event scene.
The thing is, as that DVD went on, that's one of the reasons why I bought it, because with CM Punk, he does show and explain why he should be in a higher place than where he hasn't been for a few years. CM Punk, yes, we've made a video complaining about his title run, but he's still a wrestler fans want to get behind, are behind, deserves to be in the main event slot as well. But again, everything that the WWE have done, a lot of the concentration, yes, Cena's been in the main event and stuff here, but he has still been a concentration through the year.
Yeah, and I think as a performer as well, I think Punk, especially as we've seen on that DVD, I think Punk definitely stands out above a lot of people, whether it be on the mic, whether it be in the ring, the way he conducts, even though he did hit a couple of fans. But I think the best wrestler of the year definitely deserves to go to CM Punk this year. Going to worst wrestler now. Do you want to give yours?
Straight away, we've mentioned this person before, but there's nothing I really liked about this person's involvement in the WWE, and that's none other than AJ, because if she wrestled more, put over as a diva instead of a girlfriend, not a very good GM, a slutty woman, it would have been a lot different, but the WWE really haven't made me get behind her one bit.
The worst wrestler of the year, in my opinion, there are many candidates for this, but in terms of someone who came in very strong and ended up being a jobber, Tensai came in really strong. He pinned John Cena, he pinned CM Punk, and then he's jobbing to people, like Santino. So in my opinion, the worst wrestler of the year for WWE goes to, I'm sorry, Matt Bloom, but in terms of the way he's been done, not as a performer necessarily, but just in his demise and what he has done and the lack of direction WWE have given this guy, considering he came in very strong. In my opinion, the worst wrestler of the year, Tensai. There's no doubt that at the start of 2011, we really didn't have that many hopes for the tag team division, but going through 2012, we had a lot of new tag teams, and a lot of tag teams actually solidifying themselves in there, which is why this Best and Worst Tag Team Award is actually quite difficult for me personally. I mean, I would love to say Rhodes Scholars, Team Hell No have been very good. Ray and Sin Cara have also been very good in my opinion. Hell, when they had Abraham Washington, I'd say the Primetime Players were a good tag team. But personally, and I think we will both agree on this one, the best tag team of the year, Rhodes Scholars.
That's the thing, because when it comes to these tag teams, yes, I'm labelling a lot of these new tag teams as temporary tag teams, but this tag team in particular, I think this one is going to probably most likely be the longer reigning one, the one that will stay together once Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara break up and Team Hell No break up. I think these two will stay together a bit longer, making big things happen in the tag team division, which is why I think they're probably going to be the standout tag team for the next few months.
Yeah, and you've got two young stars in there, Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow, not young by age, but young in terms of where they are in the business. And to be honest, the way they've bonded together and the promo work and some of the wrestling they've done, despite the fact that Cody Rhodes has had an injury, has been very good. And hopefully they'll get that match against New Age Outlaws at WrestleMania. I need to make a special mention to Team Hell No, though, as I think they have been a very entertaining tag team. And it was that tag team really that started off this new tag team revolution of putting guys together and actually making them into tag teams.
Even though they became very stale.
They did become very stale, yes. What about worst tag team of the year? I know which one you're going to vote for.
Again, yes, they had a big career for them. Many people behind them jumping onto the back of their train and going the long way, and that is primetime players. But look what happened to them. They crashed into a wall as they were reversing. They keep driving forward and smashing their career to pieces. Because primetime players, they're not going with it. They're the jobber tag team of the WWE, and that's where they're probably going to stay because the WWE don't seem to care about them right now.
My worst tag team of the year should come as no surprise because it involves none other than Heath Slater, who I probably should have voted as worst wrestler of the year or a 10 side. Worst tag team of the year, 3MB. I've never ever been behind 3MB. I understand it's got Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal on TV, but not for 1 minute have I ever took this tag team seriously. Not for 1 minute have I ever thought this is going to benefit the performers in there, and never for 1 minute have I thought that this is actually going to benefit the WWE in any way. And it's really just a non-fit tag team. So for me, the worst tag team is 3MB. There's no doubt in WWE there are a lot of wrestlers out there that can really talk the walk and actually, get people to sit in the seats. And I think one guy that stands above the rest in terms of being the best talker has to be CM Punk, just because of the way he conducts his promos and the unique style. I know you're going to say CM Punk, I'm going to say someone different.
Since Summit of Punk, the way he went onto the mic and he spoke up to John Cena, the WWE allowed him to do that. They've allowed him to continue doing that over 2012. He's really stood out as a guy you want him to grab hold of the mic, snatch it out of someone's hand, and cut a promo. You want to see it. People probably pay money to hear his words. Yes, he may have cut a bad one, which could be two-sided against Lawler, but when he goes up against people like Foley, he goes against Ziggler, Cena, many of the big names, Vince McMahon, Triple H, he's gold.
And to be honest, you can't even say you really cut a bad promo against Lawler because it was more to do with the fact that it was directed at Lawler's heart attack rather than the performance there. So Punk is probably definitely the best talker in WWE. But I also think that Damien Sandow, the way he conducts himself on the mic and the style and the uniqueness of the way he goes on the mic, to me, it always puts a smile on my face. It always entertains me. So to me, I know you're going to say Punk, and I think Punk is the best talker in WWE. But for me personally, from my own personal perspective, this year in 2012, Damien Sandow has been the best talker on that mic.
You're welcome.
You are indeed welcome, NJ. What about the worst talker, though? There are many candidates for this, because there are a lot of people that can't really talk on the mic.
I'm the one that best! Shut up!
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, the fact that he is also my worst and most hated wrestler, I'd have to also agree with Heath Slater. I've never really thought this guy could really talk on the mic.
Another one, I'm going to do one action. You ready?
The Funkasaurus.
No, Vicky Guerrero.
Vicky Guerrero's not that bad on the
She's
mic.
not bad, but when she goes on mic, she's like, "Hey, I'm like, shut up, my ears!"
Definitely, in my opinion, the worst talker, Heath Slater, but you guys may have different opinions. I know some of you may say Ryback, others may say other wrestlers, I don't really know, but let us know in the comment section below who you think is the best and worst talker in WWE. Last year, no doubt, the best pay-per-view of the year was Money in the Bank. And this is what we're going to be discussing here. The best and worst pay-per-view of 2012 for WWE. And I think the biggest pay-per-view of them all, WrestleMania, definitely delivered this year in the sense that we had 3 big matches to look forward to. And I think that is one of the reasons why I know you're going to say it was pay-per-view of the year. Over
the past few years, they've always had the bigger match fall onto Extreme Rules. But in this case, as much as Extreme Rules did pay off, I'm going to say WrestleMania, just because that had the big blockbuster matches. That's the match that came first, the match the WWE were building up to, and the way it paid off, as we mentioned earlier in this video, WrestleMania did exactly what it should have done.
It felt big, didn't it? I mean, you had CM Punk versus Chris Jericho, the end of an era match, Rock versus Cena, which had been built for a whole year. So WrestleMania had 3 really big matches. I personally think, while the WrestleMania was a good pay-per-view in my opinion, I personally enjoyed Extreme Rules a lot more, simply because I thought there were 2 matches on the card that were better than what they were on WrestleMania. Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan was a very good technical style match. Jericho versus Punk was a very good pure storytelling match. And Brock Lesnar versus John Cena, even though John Cena won it, I still think was a fantastic spectacle, not to mention a decent Falls Count Anywhere match in there with Randy Orton versus Kane. And to be honest, essentially, pay-per-views are judged by how you remember them, and I remember a lot about the Extreme Rules pay-per-view and WrestleMania. So the best pay-per-view, in my opinion, is Extreme Rules. In your opinion, WrestleMania 28. Going on to the worst pay-per-view of the year, something we can both agree on here. You know, WWE had a lot of bad pay-per-views this year, in my opinion. The worst of them was, in my opinion, Over the Limit. I did not enjoy. I remember last year, 2011, Capital Punishment was the worst pay-per-view of the year. And it's funny how this is pretty much in the same slot as Capital Punishment, like right after Extreme Rules, and like when we're just about to approach the filler point of the year going into SummerSlam. Over the Limit was just terrible.
It's a real shame that the WWE have given us bad pay-per-views this year. May have gave us good matches in these pay-per-views, but overall the pay-per-view was bad.
Indeed, so Over the Limit, definitely the worst pay-per-view of the year for WWE, in my opinion, and also NJ's opinion. So now comes the award for the best and worst moment in WWE. These are the moments that made us mark out most, made us, really enjoy, and then you got the moments which we just purely hated. So what is your best moment in WWE this year, NJ?
There's been a lot. Before I get to my first one, I'm going to just name some top of my head.
There are a lot.
Rock beating Cena, BAM! And then you had the fact that the whole relationship with AJ stuff ended. But the one that got it all was the reuniting of D-Generation X.
And for me personally, the one that made me mark out most was Brock Lesnar's return. I know a lot of people were expecting it and the crowd knew about it, but that whole Raw led up to that real crescendo of Brock Lesnar returning. The crowd popped big time. I know Brock Lesnar's momentum went after a while, but in terms of the moment, I think Brock Lesnar's return was the best moment of 2012 for me personally. I think Raw 1000 could go in there as well, because Raw 1000 as a whole was a great moment and a great celebration, even though it led into my worst moment of 2012. What was your worst moment of 2012, NJ?
Extreme Rules, you said that was your favourite pay-per-view of the year, but the main event actually killed it for me. I was just like, you had Brock Lesnar, like you said, came back in a brilliant way. It was a brilliant moment for fans who like Brock Lesnar. It was done correctly. When it comes to the pay-per-view, his chance to prove that he's the monster, the big guy that cannot be messed with. John Cena, once again, like the many, many years before that, beat him.
Indeed, the pay-per-view after he loses to Rock. For me personally, the worst moment of the year, and this is a personal thing, you guys may have different opinions to me, there are two for me. Raw 1001, simply because it led to the era of 3 hours, which made me really dislike watching Raw on a Monday nights and led to me and NJ not watching the show anymore, even though the product was bad anyway. And then you got the moment where WWE decided that a Vicky Guerrero AJ Lee scandal was going to be good for the TV show.
As much as they did copy TNA with that, the other thing, if I was to give a second one, is any AJ relationship. It really ruined AJ's character for me and the build for watching the shows.
She's not a crazy chick, is she? She's just a fucking whore. So, as we all know, in WWE, there are a lot of titles, and this goes for the best and worst title reign in WWE. And I think the best title reign really has to go to CM Punk because of the fact that he's held the belt for a year. Even though he's been a mid-card champion, the fact that he's held the belt for longer than John Cena, Hogan, Macho Man, people like that, is a great achievement. The longest reigning champion in 25 years. So the best title reign of this year for WWE has to go to Punk.
Compared to what Punk did last year, I guess this was WWE keeping him important, giving him something special, which was the full over a year being the WWE champion, which is definitely worthy of this award.
Yep. Santino and the US Championship, in my opinion, is the worst title reign simply because they did nothing. He never defended it. They never put him in a credible feud. Never did anything with the belt. What was the point in giving him like a 4 or 5 month title reign when he was going to do nothing with it? The worst.
And the thing is, Santino didn't really bring up the belt. Yes, he may have done it to the Intercontinental in the past, but with the US he did nothing. And even now they're doing nothing with it, so I don't really care.
As we've seen over 2012, there have been a lot of new faces coming into WWE, and this is going to be the part where we give the best and worst newcomer. There have been many people that I could give this award to. You got Antonio Cesaro, Damian Sandow, but the person, in my opinion, this award has to go to simply because of the fact that you know that somewhere down the line he's got to be a main eventer and he's going to provide at least some variation in the main event scene. The best newcomer for me personally has to go to Ryback.
The only reason I pull that base is just because, in disagreement, it's too fast. We've got the chance to be behind him, but the one that I don't think's been rushed too much because they haven't actually gone after the championship yet. That's none other than the great and awesome faction, the Shield.
I think the Shield have had a very big impact. I also think Ryback has had a big impact to a point, but I can see why you're saying the Shield. They have had like the biggest impact. They made an impact to Survivor Series very late on in the year. Do you want to just elaborate why you want to mention the Shield here?
It's just the Shield. Yes, they just recently came in, but the fact is the WWE are not showing too many signs of burying them. They're coming out a lot stronger than expected. They've got a chance to keep growing. They've even showed some hints of a future, and the fact each one of them has a place in the WWE somewhere. So I think if the WWE continue booking correctly, the Shield could go far.
I guess the Shield, your newcomer, did beat my newcomer in a 6-on-6 the TLC match at TLC. So I guess you win this round. The worst newcomer of the year. I know who you're going to say, NJ. You just give us your thoughts.
From day one, they first hint this guy as becomes a dominant monster to replace like Mark Henry, Kane, or Big Show, and he comes back wearing this funny, you know, hip-hoppy outfit, and that's none other the Funkasaurus.
I know I said Tensai was my worst wrestler, and technically he could be a newcomer. Not really sure if this really counts, but I want to include it in here anyway. 3MB. I've never liked 3MB. I fucking hate 3MB. Not really newcomers per se, but a newcomer kind of faction. So I think there have been a lot of good newcomers in WWE this year. Not that many bad ones, but the bad ones, in my opinion, are just bottom of the barrel, spiffy reference there, bad. So some really good ones this year, but also some really bad ones. And last but by no means least, the best and worst promo of the year. There is no doubt there have been some very good promo segments in WWE this year. The best promo, though, I think we can both agree, has to involve CM Punk. And I think the promo we did with Mick Foley, where Foley said that does he want to be a statistic or a legend in the business, that really encapsulated a lot of real emotion between Mick Foley and CM Punk, in my opinion.
As much as we could give this award to CM Punk, rightfully so, because he's done a lot this year. He's been a focus of some kind, great on the mic. But there's been other great mic talk, like we said. Damon Sandow, Cody Rhodes, The Miz in some way. Ziggler when he's got the mic. Jericho, Rock. So, but of all them, yes, I'm not going to take anything away from them. They've done many great things. But CM Punk, once again, proving that he's in the rightful place, being the champion long term.
It's very difficult to pick out one promo, especially when there has been a lot. But we're going to the worst promo of the year. So bad that it made me belch. Do you remember that promo, the Brad Maddox promo, when they put him in the hour main event slot? A guy from Fresh from NXT was in the hour main event slot and he had to cut a 10-minute promo. Not saying that it was a bad promo or anything, but the fact of the matter is, you saw how nervous he was. He was forgetting his lines, he was stuttering, he was shaking. It was WWE's fault for putting him in that spot.
Let me just say, by the end of tonight, you're not going to be able to forget his name.
What, Brad Maddox?
The thing is, I think there's still something big to come from him, but that particular one did stand out as bad. My worst one is going to be Vicky Guerrero, but I'm going to blame Vince McMahon for doing that to her, for her to not be able to cut a promo that hypes up a pay-per-view.
Indeed, so best and worst promo, guys, you decide. So guys, thank you very much for watching this video, and give us some of your thoughts on the best and worst of WWE in 2012 using the categories that we will show you in the description box below.
Yeah, go on, do it, go on. Go on, leave your answers in the comments section below. And from Mr. Parkin and me, NJ, thank you very much for watching, and tune in for tomorrow, where we're going to be doing the good and bad of TNA. Until next time, YouTubers, goodbye.